You don't get rich by being normal. Introduction. Why normal will never make you rich. Most people want to be rich. Very few people want to live the life required to become rich. That contradiction is the reason this book exists. From childhood, we are trained to fit in. We are rewarded for being agreeable, predictable, and compliant. We are taught that success comes from following instructions, obeying rules, and staying within clearly defined boundaries. Society praises stability. Families encourage safety. Schools prepare students for employment, not ownership. And yet, we still wonder why so many people work hard their entire lives and never escape financial stress. The truth is uncomfortable, but it is simple. Normal behavior produces normal results. And normal results do not include extraordinary wealth. This book is not about get-rich-quick schemes, fake hustle, or reckless risk-taking. It is not about gambling your future on luck or shortcuts. It is about understanding a reality most people avoid confronting. The people who build wealth think, act, and live differently long before the money ever shows up. Before anyone becomes rich, they first become unusual. They question assumptions others accept without thought. They delay comfort while others chase it. They tolerate uncertainty while others cling to security. They are willing to look foolish, stubborn, or unrealistic, sometimes for years. To the outside world, this looks like madness. To history, it looks like vision. The lie of the safe path. We are told there is a safe formula for life. Go to school, get good grades, find a stable job, save what you can, retire someday. For many, this path provides survival. For some, it provides comfort. But for almost no one does it provide wealth. What makes this especially dangerous is not that the formula fails, it's that it appears to work just well enough to keep people from questioning it. Bills get paid, life moves forward. Dreams slowly shrink, risk feels
irresponsible. Time passes quietly. Normal doesn't feel like failure. Normal feels like settling. And settling is far more dangerous than failing. Why this book will make you uncomfortable. If you're looking for reassurance, this book is not for you. If you want to be told that everything will work out if you just stay patient and keep doing what everyone else is doing, you should stop reading now. This book challenges deeply held beliefs about work, risk, money, time, security, success. It will ask you to confront questions most people avoid. Why do some people get rich while others work just as hard and don't? Why is playing it safe often the riskiest decision of all? Why do society's rules reward obedience more than innovation? Why do so many people wait for permission that never comes? The goal is not to make you reckless. The goal is to make you aware. Because awareness changes behavior, and behavior changes outcomes. What not being normal really means. Let's be clear. Not being normal does not mean being irresponsible. It does not mean quitting your job without a plan, chasing every shiny opportunity, or rejecting discipline. In fact, wealth builders are often more disciplined than everyone else. Not being normal means thinking long-term in a short-term world, valuing ownership over appearances, choosing leverage over labor, prioritizing learning over entertainment, building assets while others buy liabilities, acting before you feel ready, staying committed after the excitement fades. It means accepting a simple truth. If you want results that most people never achieve, You cannot live the way most people live. The cost of being different. Every meaningful path has a price. The price of being normal is often invisible. Years of unrealized potential. Dreams postponed indefinitely. Regret disguised as responsibility. The price of being different is obvious. Criticism, doubt, loneliness, uncertainty, failure. Most people choose the hidden cost because it feels safer.
But the people who build wealth understand something critical. Temporary discomfort is cheaper than permanent regret. Who this book is for? This book is for people who feel they were meant for more than survival. People who sense the rules are incomplete or rigged. People willing to trade comfort today for freedom tomorrow. People who don't want to be average, even if average is accepted. It is for builders, thinkers, risk managers, and long-term planners. It is not for spectators. What lies ahead? In the chapters that follow, we will explore why conformity kills opportunity, how wealthy individuals think about risk differently, the habits, decisions, and trade-offs that separate the rich from the rest, real-life stories of people who were called crazy until they weren't, the mental frameworks required to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner, why patience, focus, and discipline matter more than motivation. This is not a motivational book. It is a reality book. Motivation fades. Reality doesn't. One final warning. If you read this book seriously, you may find it harder to tolerate mediocrity. You may start questioning decisions you once accepted. You may become less satisfied with good enough. That is not a flaw. That is growth. Because the moment you stop trying to fit into a normal life is the moment you begin designing an extraordinary one. And that journey starts now. Chapter 1. Normal thinking produces normal results. The invisible script running your life. Before anyone becomes rich or stays broke, there is a script running quietly in their mind. This script is rarely written consciously. It is inherited. It comes from parents who meant well, but were afraid. Teachers who followed curriculums designed for order, not innovation. Society, which rewards predictability because predictability is easy to manage. This script says things like, be realistic. Don't take unnecessary risks. At least you have a job. Money isn't everything. That's too ambitious. Most people never question this script. They simply live it. And that is why most people get normal results. Not because they are lazy, not because they are unintelligent, but because they are operating from a framework that was never designed to produce wealth. Why hard work alone isn't enough? One of the biggest lies ever sold is that hard work guarantees success. Hard work is common, long hours are common, stress is common, wealth is not. If hard work alone created riches, nurses, factory workers, cleaners, and teachers would dominate the billionaire lists. Instead, many of the hardest working people live paycheck to paycheck. The difference is not effort. The difference is leverage. Normal thinking focuses on effort. If I work harder, I'll earn more. Wealth thinking focuses on systems. How can my work continue paying me even when I stop? That shift, subtle but powerful, is where normal ends and wealth begins. Case study: the janitor versus the owner. Consider two people in the same building. The janitor works 10 hours a day. His work is physically demanding. If he stops working, income stops immediately. The building owner may never visit the property, yet rent flows in monthly. Who works harder? The janitor. Who gets richer? The owner. This is not a moral judgment. It is a structural reality. Normal thinking glorifies effort. Wealth thinking prioritizes ownership. The comfort trap. Normal life is built around comfort, comfortable routines, comfortable conversations, comfortable expectations. Comfort tells you, you can do this later. You're still young. At least things are stable. Don't rock the boat. Comfort feels good in the short term, but it quietly erodes ambition. Wealth, by contrast, requires voluntary discomfort. Learning when others relax, saving when others spend, building when others consume.
Saying no when others say yes. This is why people chasing comfort rarely accumulate wealth. They are optimizing for now instead of later. Real-life story: Elon Musk and the years of almost failure. Before Elon Musk became one of the wealthiest individuals in the world, he lived in a reality most people would reject. After selling PayPal, Musk poured nearly all his money into SpaceX and Tesla. Both companies teetered on the edge of collapse multiple times. By 2008, Tesla was weeks from bankruptcy. SpaceX had failed 3 rocket launches. Musk was borrowing money for rent. A normal person would have diversified, slowed down, protected comfort. Musk doubled down. The 4th SpaceX launch succeeded. NASA contracts followed. Tesla survived. What looked irresponsible to outsiders was actually extreme conviction paired with long-term vision. Normal thinking asks, what if this fails? Wealth thinking asks, what if it works? The social cost of not being normal. One of the least discussed barriers to wealth is social pressure. Humans are wired to belong. When you start thinking differently, you threaten group harmony. Friends may mock you. Family may worry. Colleagues may distance themselves. You will hear, "You've changed. You think you're better than us now. Why can't you just be satisfied?" These reactions are rarely malicious. They are defensive. Your ambition reminds others of dreams they abandoned. To remain normal is to remain socially safe. To pursue wealth is to accept temporary isolation. Case study: Oprah Winfrey, refusing her assigned life. Oprah was born into poverty, faced abuse, and was repeatedly told she wasn't suitable for television. At multiple points, she was advised to stay in traditional media roles, avoid controversial topics, play it safe. Instead, she built a brand around authenticity, emotional depth, and ownership. She didn't just host a show, she owned the platform. Oprah's wealth didn't come from fame alone.
It came from control. Normal media personalities work for networks. Oprah became the network. The myth of later. Normal thinking is addicted to postponement. I'll start later. I'll invest later. I'll take risks later, when things calm down. Later is comforting because it demands nothing today, but later is also fictional. Wealth compounds over time. The cost of waiting is invisible, but devastating. 10 years pass quietly. Energy declines. Responsibilities increase. The people who build wealth act before they feel ready. They don't wait for certainty. They move with clarity, not confidence. Normal education versus wealth education. Traditional education teaches how to follow instructions, how to meet expectations, how to avoid mistakes. Wealth education teaches how to think independently, how to solve problems, how to learn from failure, how to sell, negotiate, and allocate capital. This is why many wealthy individuals say their real education happened outside the classroom, through books, mentors, mistakes, and experimentation. Normal education prepares you to fit into systems. Wealth education prepares you to build or control them. Why most people never cross the line? The line between normal and wealthy is not dramatic. It's quiet. It's crossed when someone
chooses ownership over salary, chooses long-term over short-term, chooses discipline over pleasure, chooses uncertainty over stagnation. Most people stand near the line their entire lives. They talk about crossing it. They plan. They research. Then they step back. Not because they can't cross, but because normal feels safer. The first wealth decision. The first step toward wealth is not starting a business or investing money. It is deciding, consciously, that normal is not enough. That decision changes what you tolerate, what you prioritize, how you spend time, who you listen to. Once you make that decision, your behavior begins to shift naturally, not overnight, but permanently.
Chapter 1 Summary. Normal thinking prioritizes comfort, safety, and approval. Wealth requires discomfort, ownership, and long-term vision. Hard work without leverage keeps people stuck. Social pressure keeps many people average. The first step toward wealth is a mental break from normal. In the next chapter, we will explore how wealthy people think about risk, why they are not reckless, and how they calculate moves others are too afraid to make. Chapter 2. Risk isn't dangerous. Ignorance is. Why most people misunderstand risk. When most people hear the word risk, they immediately think of loss. Loss of money, loss of stability, loss of reputation, loss of comfort. This fear is not irrational. It is conditioned. From childhood, we are taught to avoid mistakes. School systems reward correct answers, not experimentation. Careers punish failure more than they reward innovation. Families equate stability with responsibility. So risk becomes something to avoid at all costs. But here is the truth most people never learn. Risk is not the enemy of wealth. Ignorance is. Risk does not destroy people. Uninformed decisions do. The biggest financial risk nobody talks about. The most dangerous risk is not starting a business. It is not investing. It is not changing careers. The biggest risk is doing nothing different for decades. Millions of people wake up every day, hating their work, living paycheck to paycheck, hoping inflation doesn't outpace their income, trusting systems they don't control. That feels safe until it isn't. Companies downsize, industries disappear, health changes, economies shift. Normal thinking assumes stability is permanent. History proves otherwise. Two types of risk. One builds wealth, one destroys it. All risks are not equal. 1. Blind risk. What normal people fear. Acting on emotion. No research, no backup plan, no understanding of downside. This is gambling, and gambling deserves fear. 2. Calculated risk. What wealth builders take. Studied decisions, controlled downside, long-term upside, adaptability built in. Wealthy individuals don't avoid risk, they engineer it in their favor. Case study, Warren Buffett. Low risk through deep understanding. Warren Buffett is often described as conservative, but this is misleading. Buffett makes massive bets, billions at a time. What makes them appear safe is not caution, but clarity. He invests only in businesses he understands, industries with predictable demand, leadership he trusts, long-term value. His famous quote explains everything. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. Normal people call investing risky because they don't understand it. Buffett removes risk by mastering knowledge. Why the rich study what the average person avoids. Normal thinking avoids complexity. Wealth thinking studies it until it becomes simple. Wealth builders learn how money flows, how businesses fail, how taxes work, how leverage amplifies outcomes, how incentives drive behavior. This knowledge transforms fear into strategy. Once you understand how something works, it stops being scary. Real life story, the first-time entrepreneur. Consider a common story. Someone works a job for 10 years. They dream of starting a business but feel unready. They wait until conditions feel perfect. Eventually, frustration outweighs fear. They start small. They fail. They adjust. They learn. Within a few years, they realized something shocking. The fear was worse than the failure. What once felt terrifying now feels manageable, even obvious. The risk didn't disappear. Their ignorance did. Why employees often take more risk than entrepreneurs. This is one of the great ironies of modern life. Employees believe entrepreneurship is risky. Yet, one employer controls their income. One industry controls their relevance. One decision they don't make can end their job.
Entrepreneurs spread risk across multiple clients, multiple income streams, multiple opportunities. One model concentrates risk. The other diversifies it. Which is actually safer? Risk versus responsibility. Risk-taking is often labeled irresponsible, but responsibility without ownership leads to burnout, resentment, stagnation. True responsibility is preparing for uncertainty, building buffers, creating options, developing adaptability. Wealth builders don't avoid responsibility. They take responsibility for outcomes instead of excuses. How to calculate risk like the wealthy? Before taking action, wealthy thinkers ask, what's the worst-case scenario? Can I survive it? What does success look like? Is the upside worth the downside? What can I learn even if this fails? If survival is possible and learning is guaranteed, the risk is acceptable. The hidden cost of playing it safe. Playing it safe costs time, opportunity, growth, confidence, compounding. The longer you delay, the higher the entry price becomes. Youth is forgiving, time is patient, but neither waits forever. The risk tolerance gap. The difference between wealthy individuals and everyone else is not courage. It is risk tolerance built through experience. Each calculated risk taken and survived increases confidence. Each lesson learned reduces fear. Each failure survived expands capacity. Wealth builders are not fearless, they are experienced. Chapter 2 Summary. Risk itself is neutral. Ignorance makes it dangerous. Wealthy individuals reduce risk through understanding. Playing safe long-term is often the riskiest strategy. Calculated risk builds confidence, skill, and opportunity. Growth requires stepping into uncertainty intentionally. What comes next? In Chapter 3, we move from thinking to behavior. Chapter 3. The daily habits that quietly build wealth. Why wealth is boring before it's exciting. One of the biggest misconceptions about wealth is that it comes from dramatic moments, big deals, lucky breaks, sudden breakthroughs. That belief is comforting because it suggests success is rare, external, and unpredictable. The truth is far less glamorous. Wealth is usually built through repetitive, uncelebrated behaviors practiced long before results become visible. By the time success looks impressive from the outside, the habits that created it have already been in place for years. Normal people look for intensity. Wealth builders rely on consistency. Motivation is overrated. Discipline is not. Normal thinking depends on motivation. I'll start when I feel inspired. I just need to get motivated. I'm waiting for the right moment. Motivation is emotional, and emotions are unreliable. Discipline, on the other hand, is structural. Discipline means acting even when you don't feel like it, showing up without excitement, following standards instead of moods. Wealth is built by people who don't negotiate with themselves daily. Case study: Kobe Bryant, excellence through ritual. Kobe Bryant wasn't the most naturally gifted athlete in basketball history, but he was one of the most disciplined. He practiced when others rested. He trained fundamentals when others chased highlights. He followed routines so strict they bordered on obsessive. Kobe once explained that his edge came from doing ordinary things extraordinarily well, every single day. Wealth works the same way. People don't fail financially because they lack ambition. They fail because they lack repeatable systems. The habit gap between the rich and the rest. Let's simplify the difference. Normal habits focus on consumption, relief, entertainment, short-term comfort. Wealth habits focus on creation, learning, tracking, long-term payoff. This gap compounds quietly.
An hour a day spent consuming disappears. An hour a day spent building multiplies. Time, the most abused asset everyone has. The same 24 hours, what differs is allocation. Normal people spend time reactively, scrolling, complaining, recovering from stress, distracting themselves from dissatisfaction. Wealth builders spend time intentionally, building skills, studying opportunities, reviewing finances, strengthening systems. They don't manage time better, they protect it more aggressively. Real-life example, the quiet builder. Consider someone who works a full-time job, spends 90 minutes each evening building a skill, studies money weekly, saves and reinvests consistently. They don't look impressive. They don't talk much. They don't chase attention. 5 years later, they look lucky. They weren't lucky. They were consistent when no one was watching. The power of tracking, what most people avoid. Normal people avoid tracking.
Case study: Benjamin Franklin, systems over inspiration. Benjamin Franklin didn't rely on talent or motivation. He relied on systems. He tracked virtues, reviewed days, adjusted behavior. His success came from self-management, not brilliance. Wealth follows the same pattern. Delayed gratification, the ultimate wealth skill. One of the strongest predictors of long-term success is the ability to delay gratification. Normal people ask, what feels good now? Wealth builders ask, what pays later? This applies to spending, relationships, habits, decisions. Every delayed reward strengthens future freedom. Why small habits beat big goals? Big goals inspire. Small habits deliver. Goals without habits are wishes. Wealth builders focus on daily actions, weekly progress, monthly adjustments. They trust the process. They don't rush compounding. The compounding effect nobody notices. Habits compound like interest, slowly at first, invisibly for a long time, then suddenly and dramatically. Most people quit during the invisible phase. Wealth builders stay. Breaking bad habits without willpower. Wealth builders don't rely on willpower. They redesign environments. They remove temptations, reduce friction for good habits, automate decisions, create accountability. Willpower is fragile. Systems are durable. Identity-based habits. The most powerful habits are tied to identity. Not, I'm trying to save money, but I'm a disciplined investor. Not, I want to build wealth, but I act like someone who builds assets. Behavior follows identity. Change identity, habits follow. Chapter 3 Summary. Wealth is built through consistent daily habits. Discipline outperforms motivation. Time and money tracking create control. Small actions compound into massive results. Systems beat willpower. Identity drives behavior. What comes next? In Chapter 4, we move into scale.
Chapter 4. Leverage. How the wealthy multiply effort. Why hard work eventually stops paying. Most people are taught a simple formula. Work harder, earn more. At first, this formula appears true. Extra hours often mean extra pay. Promotions reward effort. Hustle is praised. But there is a hidden ceiling. No matter how hardworking you are, you only have 24 hours in a day. Your energy is finite. Your attention is limited. Eventually, hard work stops producing proportional returns. This is where most people get stuck. They don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because effort alone does not scale. Wealth is not built by working harder forever. It is built by learning how to make effort multiply. That multiplier is leverage. What leverage really means, not the internet version. Leverage is often misunderstood. It does not mean exploitation. It does not mean shortcuts. It does not mean luck. Leverage simply means using tools, systems, or structures so that the same effort produces greater results. Normal people trade time for money. Wealth builders trade design for scale. Leverage allows one unit of effort to create many units of output. The 4 core types of leverage. Almost all wealth is built using one or more of these 4 forms of leverage: labor, capital, media, code. Each has strengths, risks, and entry points. 1. Labor leverage. People working beyond you. Labor leverage means using other people's time and skills to scale output. This does not mean exploitation. It means coordination. A business owner who hires employees is not stealing labor. They are organizing effort toward a shared outcome. Case study: Henry Ford. Henry Ford did not invent the automobile. He invented a system that allowed cars to be produced at scale. By breaking production into specialized tasks, Ford multiplied output without working more hours himself. The result: lower costs, higher production, mass affordability, immense wealth creation. Labor leverage turned effort into industry.
Why most people avoid leverage. Normal thinking avoids responsibility. Managing people feels risky. Leadership invites accountability. Delegation feels uncomfortable. So many people stay stuck doing everything themselves. Wealth builders understand. Doing everything yourself is not control. It is limitation. Learning to lead multiplies results. 2. Capital leverage. Money working instead of you. Capital leverage is when money generates more money. This includes investments, businesses, real estate, equity ownership. Normal people see money as something to spend. Wealth builders see money as a tool. Real-life example: real estate investors. A property bought once can generate rental income monthly, appreciate over time, be leveraged for future investments. The investor may sleep. The asset keeps working. Capital leverage separates income from time. Why capital alone is not enough? Money without knowledge is fragile. Many people lose money not because investing is bad, but because they don't understand risk, chase trends, ignore fundamentals. Capital leverage works best when paired with education, patience, discipline. Money amplifies behavior. It does not fix it. 3. Media leverage. One voice, infinite reach. Media leverage allows one message to reach thousands or millions. Examples: books, videos, podcasts, social platforms. The effort to create content is finite. The reach is not. Case study: authors and creators. An author writes a book once. That book can sell for decades. A creator records a video once. That video can earn views for years. Same effort, extended impact. Why media leverage is powerful today? In previous generations, distribution was controlled by gatekeepers. Today, anyone can publish, teach, share ideas, build influence. But most people misuse media for attention, not assets. Wealth builders use media to educate, build trust, create long-term value. 4. Code leverage. Systems that never sleep. Code is the most scalable leverage in history.
Software can run non-stop, serve millions, operate without fatigue. Case study: tech platforms. A small team builds a system. Millions use it daily. Effort is front-loaded. Returns scale massively. This is why tech companies dominate modern wealth rankings. Why you don't need to be a programmer. Many people avoid code leverage because they think, I'm not technical. You don't need to write code. You need to understand systems. Wealth builders? Hire talent. Use tools. Design processes. Understanding leverage matters more than building it yourself. Why normal people resist leverage. Leverage feels unfair, complicated, out of reach. But these beliefs are emotional, not factual. Leverage is not cheating.
It is designing smarter structures. Normal thinking glorifies struggle. Wealth thinking respects efficiency. The ethical side of leverage. True leverage creates value, solves problems, rewards contribution. Exploitative leverage collapses. Sustainable leverage compounds. The wealthy who last understand this distinction deeply. Leverage without foundations is dangerous. Leverage magnifies outcomes. That includes mistakes. This is why earlier chapters mattered. Discipline, risk management, habits, identity. Without these, leverage accelerates failure. How to start using leverage gradually. You don't jump into leverage, you layer it. Examples: document your work, media leverage. Delegate small tasks, labor leverage. Reinvest profits, capital leverage. Automate processes, code leverage. Wealth is built incrementally. Scale comes later. The leverage mindset shift. Normal thinking asks, how much can I do? Wealth thinking asks, how can this be done without me? That question changes everything. Chapter 4 Summary. Hard work alone does not scale. Leverage multiplies effort. The 4 forms of leverage are labor, capital, media, and code. Ethical leverage creates value. Leverage amplifies both success and failure. Foundations must come before scale.
Chapter 5. Ownership. Why control matters more than income. How to start building ownership today. Starting ownership isn't about launching a billion-dollar company overnight. It's about making strategic, incremental moves towards control. Own your time first. Create boundaries that protect your focus and creativity. When you own your schedule, you begin controlling outcomes. Own your skills. Invest in learning that creates marketable, rare skills. You become valuable and less replaceable. Own side income. Start a side hustle or freelance gig. This builds experience managing your own income stream. Invest in small stakes. Buy shares in businesses or real estate trusts. Even small equity positions shift your mindset from worker to owner. Create intellectual property. Write, design, or invent. Owning rights means long-term residual income. Ownership is a gradual mindset shift. Every small step matters. Ownership as a shield against uncertainty. The world is volatile. Job layoffs, market crashes, industry shifts, all happen. Owning assets gives you options. If one income source disappears, ownership elsewhere can sustain you. Owners have a safety net. Earners often live without one. How to negotiate for ownership. Whether you work in a company or start your own project, learn to negotiate ownership or equity. Some tips. Understand your value and communicate it clearly. Propose partnerships or profit sharing instead of just salary. Start with small equity if full ownership isn't possible. Seek mentors or advisors who have navigated equity deals. Always get agreements in writing. Owning a piece of the pie changes your incentives and outcomes. Common mistakes when pursuing ownership. Confusing ownership with control. You can own shares but have no say in decisions. Ignoring legal protection. Always formalize ownership agreements.
Over-leveraging early. Don't sacrifice stability chasing ownership too fast. Failing to build complementary skills. Ownership requires management and leadership. Neglecting diversification. Don't put all eggs in one basket. Awareness prevents costly missteps. Ownership requires leadership. To truly own means to lead. Leadership is not about authority, it's about responsibility. Owning assets or businesses means managing risks, making decisions, solving problems, inspiring others, if applicable. The more ownership you seek, the more leadership you must develop. Summary of key ownership lessons. Ownership builds long-term, sustainable wealth. It starts with mindset and small steps. Ownership protects against uncertainty. Negotiation skills unlock equity. Leadership is essential. Avoid common pitfalls through education and discipline.
Chapter 6. Patience.
Why time is the real currency. The hidden reality behind quick success stories. In today's world, where viral trends and overnight sensations dominate headlines, it's easy to believe that wealth can come instantly. Social media celebrates the quick win, the entrepreneur who launches a business and sells it for millions in months, the influencer who skyrockets to fame overnight, the trader who doubles money in days. But for every headline, there are thousands of untold stories of slow, steady, patient growth. Wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. Why wealth growth feels slow at first. The concept of compounding is central to understanding why patience is necessary. Think about planting a seed. At first, it looks like nothing is happening. Roots grow slowly underground, unseen. Only after time does the plant break through the soil. Later, it grows fast, providing fruit and shade for years. Wealth works the same way. Early efforts might feel fruitless. Investments, skills, businesses take time to mature. Progress is invisible or frustratingly slow, but the growth curve eventually accelerates dramatically.
The psychological battle with time. Humans are wired to seek instant gratification. Our brain rewards immediate pleasure with dopamine. Waiting triggers discomfort, anxiety, and doubt. This is the core reason why most people quit before success arrives. Case study: Jeff Bezos and the power of long-term thinking. Jeff Bezos founded Amazon in 1994. For many years, Amazon operated at a loss or razor-thin profits. Investors were impatient. Media doubted. Competitors mocked. But Bezos never wavered. His vision was long-term domination, not short-term gain. Today, Amazon is a trillion-dollar company. The early years of slow or no profit were necessary groundwork. How to develop patience in your wealth journey. Set realistic expectations. Know that meaningful wealth takes years. Break big goals into small milestones. Celebrate progress to build motivation. Build habits that focus on process over outcome. For example, study your industry daily rather than obsessing over immediate results. Limit distractions and hype. Avoid get-rich-quick schemes and social media comparisons. Practice gratitude and reflection. Recognize progress and reinforce your purpose. Use visualization techniques. Picture your future success to stay committed. Patience is not passive, it's active endurance. Why quitting early is the greatest risk. The most common failure in wealth building is quitting. Most people give up right before breakthroughs. This pattern is tragic but predictable. Understanding timelines can prevent premature quitting. The 5-year rule. Research shows many entrepreneurs, investors, and creators don't see meaningful returns until 5 years or more. The timeline often looks like years 1 to 2, learning, failures, slow progress. Years 3 to 4, small wins, incremental growth. Year 5 plus, exponential returns. Knowing this framework builds patience and grit. How to handle setbacks without losing patience. Setbacks are inevitable. They test resolve. The wealthy treat setbacks as data, not disasters. Analyze what went wrong. Adjust your approach. Stay consistent. Recommit to the long-term vision. Patience paired with resilience creates invincibility. Summary: wealth requires patience due to compounding and growth timelines. Instant success stories are exceptions, not the rule. Psychological resistance to waiting is natural, but can be trained. Long-term vision, milestone tracking, and resilience develop patience. Quitting early is the greatest risk to wealth.
Chapter 7. Identity. Becoming someone who can hold wealth. Why your identity determines your financial outcome. Money magnifies who you already are. If your identity is careless or undisciplined, wealth can disappear quickly. If your identity is strategic and responsible, wealth grows and sustains. Financial outcomes follow identity, not just actions. The power of identity-based habits. Changing behavior is hard. Changing identity is easier. Example, trying to save money is a behavior. Becoming a person who values financial freedom is identity. When your identity changes, habits follow naturally. How to shift your identity. Define your new identity clearly. Examples, I am an investor. I am a business owner. I am financially independent. Internalize it through self-talk and visualization. Repeat your identity statements daily. Surround yourself with people who embody that identity. Join groups, forums, or communities aligned with your vision. Act as if you are that person. Make decisions congruent with your new identity. Be patient with yourself. Identity takes time to form.
Real-life example, from employee to entrepreneur. Many entrepreneurs describe the shift as a mental transformation. One day, they see themselves as just a worker. Later, they start thinking and acting like owners and creators. This identity change changes risk tolerance, ambition, and perseverance. How identity influences money management. If you see yourself as a spender, you will spend. If you see yourself as a saver or investor, you will save and invest. If you identify as a lifelong learner, you will seek financial education. Why wealth without identity often fails. People who gain sudden wealth but lack a wealthy identity often lose it. Identity acts as the foundation for discipline, strategy, patience, confidence. Without it, wealth is fragile. Tools to build wealth identity. Journaling your money story. Reading biographies of wealthy people. Practicing daily affirmations. Tracking progress aligned with identity. Mentoring or coaching relationships. Summary. Financial outcomes are tied deeply to identity. Identity-based habits are more sustainable. Shifting identity requires intentionality and patience. Surrounding yourself with the right influences accelerates change. Without a wealthy identity, wealth often slips away.
Chapter 8. Environment. Why your circle matters more than motivation. How your environment shapes your destiny. Your environment influences your habits, beliefs, opportunities, mindset. Motivation fluctuates, but environment shapes behavior automatically. Why most people's environments hold them back. If you spend time with people who complain about money, resist change, prioritize instant gratification, it's almost impossible to adopt wealthy habits. Your environment either pulls you forward or holds you back. How to build a wealth-friendly environment. Associate with ambitious, growth-oriented people. Seek friends, mentors, or groups who support your goals. Create physical spaces that inspire focus and productivity. Dedicated work areas, clean spaces.
Curate your media intake. Follow educational content. Avoid negative news and distractions. Engage in communities focused on financial growth. Online forums, mastermind groups, workshops. Limit time with toxic or unsupportive influences. Case study, Jim Rohn's philosophy. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." This means your habits, mindset, and success are influenced by your circle. Choose wisely. Why environment trumps motivation. Motivation is like a spark. Environment is the fuel. Without the right environment, Motivation dies quickly. With the right environment, motivation lasts and builds. How to change your environment? Start small. Change your daily routine or physical space. Join a new community or group. Seek mentors or coaches. Limit exposure to negative or distracting inputs. Invest in yourself through courses, books, and training. Summary: environment shapes behavior more than willpower. Surrounding yourself with growth-minded people accelerates success. Physical and mental environments impact productivity. Changing environment is a critical but overlooked step. Motivation alone is insufficient without supportive surroundings.
Chapter 9. Why most people never make it, and how to avoid their mistakes. Common mistakes that derail wealth building. Chasing too many ideas at once. Spreading focus dilutes results. Expecting instant passive income. Wealth requires time and work. Poor financial tracking. Without tracking, money leaks unnoticed. Quitting primary income too early. Abandoning stability prematurely increases risk. Confusing busyness with progress. Movement is not the same as progress. How to avoid these mistakes. Focus. Commit to one project or income stream before expanding. Educate. Understand that passive income takes upfront active effort. Track. Use budgeting and financial software to monitor cash flow.
Balance. Maintain primary income while building new streams. Measure. Use key performance indicators, KPIs, to track real progress. Why persistence beats raw talent. The market rewards those who last, not necessarily the smartest. Consistency, learning from failure, and adapting create unstoppable momentum. Case study: Thomas Edison's 1,000+ failures. Edison's quote, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Persistence led to invention. Wealth building is the same. Summary: common mistakes prevent many from building wealth. Focus, education, tracking, balance, and measurement are keys to success. Persistence and adaptation are more important than initial skill. Learning from failure builds resilience. Final conclusion. Normal is crowded. Wealth is quiet. Wealth does not come to those who follow the crowd. It comes to those who think differently, act consistently, accept discomfort, build quietly over time. Normal is easy to enter, but hard to leave. Wealth is hard to enter, but easy to maintain. Wealth is not about flashy success. It's about freedom, agency, and control over your life. The final truth: you don't get rich by being normal. You get rich by being intentional, disciplined, and different, consistently. Final recommendations. 1. Audit your time weekly. Know where your time goes. Protect productive hours. Eliminate distractions. 2. Build one income stream before chasing many. Master one thing first. Diversify after stability. 3. Learn one high-value skill deeply. Skills compound. Focus on rare and valuable skills. 4. Prioritize ownership over appearance. Chase assets, not just salary. Equity beats raises. 5. Delay lifestyle inflation aggressively. Avoid lifestyle creep. Save and reinvest the difference. 6. Track money like a business. Budget monthly. Review quarterly. Adjust strategically.
7. Choose long-term gains over short-term approval. Ignore the noise. Build quietly. 8. Stay patient longer than feels comfortable. Commit to the long game.
Trust compounding.